So some statistics that I did want to share during this presentation is the fact that one in three, or one, two, three children out of 1,000 are actually born with some sort of a hearing impairment or complete hearing loss. So it is pretty rare. But one interesting fact that I did find out was that over 90% of parents with deaf children are actually born hearing parents. So I thought that was interesting. It really made me think about how difficult that must be for a parent to find out that their child is hearing impaired. So naturally, parents who learn with their children as they go on. So baby sign, which is in fact the most simple level of sign language, is learned in tandem with the parent. I just thought that was incredibly interesting, and I love to um, understand how uh, parents are able to learn with their children. I thought that was very unique. Um, so some impacts that baby sign does have on the ASL community is that baby sign is going to be one of the earliest forms of communication that babies learn, uh, typically with hearing babies or hearing individuals. Um, Verbal cues are the main factor that allow babies to learn, not only from their surroundings but from their parents. Um, they don't even have to be real words, really. Just the tone of one's voice is enough to catch the attention of a baby, or at least to teach them what is and is not okay. So having a firm understanding of the language allows them to pick up information a lot quicker and eventually helps them out in the long run. So for many deaf babies, their first attempt at nonverbal communication is going to be baby sign. So it's very important for parents to teach them young or as soon as possible while they're still young so that they can progressively get better at communicating. So another thing I want to talk about is cognitive development. So babies who lack exposure to language tend to lag behind um, the as opposed to hearing children. This is because again, babies learn very early on what is and is not okay, what to avoid, what to not avoid, mostly through verbal communication. So when they don't have that, they really struggle later on in life. So babies who are taught sign early actually show little to no uh, sign of cognitive delay compared to hearing children. So being able to teach them the basics at the very least between 6 to 8 months will greatly increase their chances at actually excelling above their hearing peers. So one main aspect of baby sign is that it's actually meant to be easy. Both doctors who created baby sign purposefully made it as simple as it could possibly be. The reason for this is because babies tend to have very little motor skills or very simple motor skills. So they pick the simplest signs that really anybody could do. So, for example, mom, dad, milk, more, drink, simple signs that a baby could learn to help them communicate with their parents. Because if they don't have these forms of communication, they're essentially helpless, really. They can't communicate what they want. So this really helps them growing up to be able to communicate their feelings and their desires. So baby signs specifically created to be simple uh, are just naturally more likely to help children communicate overall. So a few reflections that I came across while doing my research on this is that a lot of people have very common misconceptions about ASL in general, really, not just in baby sign. A lot of people do believe that ASL is, all the same, that you start at a certain level, for example, the one we're taking right now, or just more advanced than that. And that's not true. Baby sign language is, again, it's meant to be incredibly easy, very basic science that anybody can do. Um, so really, it's important to understand that babies deserve to be able to communicate as well. And it's honestly not that difficult. Anybody can really do it if they put their mind to it. And I just thought it was incredibly unique how not only how it started in 1982. So as of this year, it's only 40 years ago since the practice was brought up. And that's pretty shocking. My parents are in their 50s, so there were around 10 years uh, bef- of a gap before ASL was actually brought up. So I just thought that was incredibly unique because ASL's been around since the 1800s. So it's incredibly young. Really, it's an incredibly young practice as of now. So I thought that was incredibly unique, and I really enjoyed researching this topic. So these are some resources that I decided to cite in my presentation. A lot of these do come from LifePrint, too, in fact. They'll be listed here, as well as the National Library of Medicine. I really valued their opinion during my research. So overall, I really enjoyed this assignment, and I really thank you for listening.